Hi guys, today we're going to read another book from the Peter Rabbit Library. Today we're going to read The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin. Let's get reading. This is a tale about a tale. A tale that belonged to a little red squirrel, and his name was Nutkin. He had a brother called Twinkleberry and a great many cousins. They lived in a wood at the edge of a lake. In the middle of the lake there is an island covered with trees and nut bushes, and amongst those trees stands a hollow oak tree which is in the house of an owl, who is called Old Brown. One autumn, when the nuts were ripe, the leaves on the hazel bushes were golden and green, Nutkin and Twinkleberry and all the other little squirrels came out of the wood and down to the edge of the lake. They made little rafts out of twigs, and they paddled away over the water to Owl Island to gather nuts. Each squirrel had a little sack and a large oar, and spread out his tail for a sail. They also took with them an offering of 3 fat mice as a present for Old Brown, and put them down upon his doorstep. Then Twinkleberry and the other little squirrels made a low bow and said politely, "Old Mr. Brown, will you favor us with permission to gather nuts upon your island?" But Nutkin was excessively impertinent in his manners. He bobbed up and down like a little red cherry, singing, riddle me, rot, tot, tot, a little wee man in a red, red coat, a staff in his hand, and a stone in his throat. If you'll tell me this riddle, I'll give you a groat. Now this riddle is as old as the hills. Mr. Brown paid no attention whatever to Nutkin. He shut his eyes obstinately and went to sleep. The squirrels filled their little sacks with nuts and sails away home in the evening, but next morning they all came back again to Owl Island. The Twinkleberry and the other in front of old Mr. Brown's doorway, and said, "Mr. Brown, will you favor us with your gracious permission to gather some more nuts?" But Nutkin, who had no respect, began to dance up and down, tinkling the old Mr. Brown with a nettle and singing, "Old Mr. B, riddle me ree, hitty-pitty within the wall, hitty-pitty without in the wall. If you touch hitty-pitty, hitty-pitty will bite you." Mr. Brown woke up suddenly and carried them all into his house. He shut the door in Nutkin's face. Presently a little thread of blue smoke from a wood fire came up from the top of the tree. Nutkin peeped through the keyhole and sang, "A mouthful, a hole full, and you cannot gather a bowl full." Tinkleberry and 6 other little squirrels each carried a fat minnow, but Nutkin, who had no nice manners, brought no respect at all. He ran in front singing, "The man in the wilderness said to me, how many strawberries grow in the sea? I answered him as I thought good, as many red herrings as grow in the wood." But old Mr. Brown took no interest in riddles, not even when the answer was provided for him. On the fourth day, the squirrels brought a present for 6 fat beetles, which were as good as plums in a plumberry for old Mr. Brown. Each beetle was wrapped up carefully in a dock leaf, fastened with a pine needle pin, but Nutkin sang as rudely as ever, "Old Mr. B, riddle me ree, for of England, fruit of Spain, met together in a shower of rain, put in a bag, tied round with a string. If you'll tell me this riddle, I'll give you a ring." Which was ridiculous of Nutkin, because he had not got any ring to give to Old Brown. The other squirrels hunted up and down the nut bushes, but Nutkin gathered robins' pincushions of a birch bush and stuck them full of pine's needle pins. On the 5th day, the squirrels brought a present of wild honey. It was so sweet and sticky, they licked their fingers as they put it down upon the stone. They had stolen it out of the bumblebee's nest over the timpity top of the hill, but Nutkin skipped up and down, singing, "Humma bum buzz, buzz, humma bum buzz, buzz. As I went over Tipley Time, I met a flock of bonny swine. Some yellow nacked, some yellow backed. They were in the very bonesy swine, and that went over Tipley Time." Now old Mr. Brown took an interest in eggs. He opened the one eye and shut it again, but still he did not speak. Nutkin became more and more impertinent. "Old Mr. B, old Mr. B, hickamore, hackamore on the king's kitchen door. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't drive hickamore, hackamore of the king's kitchen door." Nutkin danced up and down like a sunbeam, but still old Miss Brown said nothing at all. Nutkin began again. Author Old Brown was broken his band. He comes roaring up the land, and King of Scots with all his power cannot turn author of the bower. Nutkin made a whirring noise to sound like the wind, and he took a running jump from right onto the head of Old Brown. Then all once there was a flutterment and scatterment, and a loud squeak. The other squirrels scattered away into the bushes. When they came back very cautiously, peeping round the trees, there was Old Brown sitting on his doorstep, quite still, with his eyes closed, as if nothing had happened. But Nutkin was in his waistcoat pocket. This looks like the end of the story, but it isn't. Old Brown carried Nutkin in the house and held him up by the tail, intending to skin him, but Nutkin pulled so hard, very hard, that his tail broke into two, and he dashed up and straight escaped out of the attic window. And to this day, if you meet Nutkin up a tree and you ask him a riddle, he will throw sticks at you and stamp his feet and scold and shout, "Cock, cock, cock, cock." The end. I hope you guys like the story. Bye!